Are you trying to figure out how to get things done? Are you trying to look for knowledge that can actually help you do something, be better at what you do? Hi, I'm Joyce Mbaya, founder of Zydii, where we provide affordable online courses for Africa. This is the place for you, the Zydii podcast, where we have inspiring conversations with amazing people. And the ultimate goal is to help you know more so you can do more.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Power of Peer-to-Peer Leveraging Superstar Employees to Improve Team Performance webinar. It's a mouthful. Good morning. So we'll hand over to Sandra, who will get us started with a really fun, interesting icebreaker. So Sandra, over to you. And we will pick up and also do introductions so that you're not left wondering, who are these voices? And we'll also switch on the camera.
Okay, thank you, Rhoda. And thank you all for joining us. So we'll just begin right away. So we want to see how informed you guys are. So we'll ask simple questions and then you guys can guess the correct answer. I hope you get, the answers right. So simply, for the game, simply type your answers in the chat box and then we'll announce the winner towards the end.
Great. Thanks, Sandra. So also to add on to that is, yes, be very close to your chat box. The fastest correct response wins the round. There's 5 rounds, which means if you win 3 out of 5 or 2 out of the 5. So basically, if you've won the most rounds, then you will be the winner. I'm so excited to see who will get through this. So Sandra, is that it? So can I move on?
Yeah, sure, please.
Great. So open your chat if you're on the phone, if you are on your laptop, wherever you are, get ready, get your fingers ready, flex the fingers, and let's get started. All right. So name the market. Name the market. And Sandra is going to be looking to see who will answer first. Hey, they're coming in quick.
Great. Jane, Nyaboke got it first. Got it right. It's Gikomba. Correct.
Wow. Hey, Nyaboke. You didn't even breathe.
Yeah, she was the first one to type. Yeah.
All right. Next one is, a car is named after me. I am. Who am I? Hey, Nyaboke. You have leakage.
Nyaboke definitely has leakage.
I know. Bobby's looks like a tiger. Actually, Bobby, you've it does, doesn't it? Same family.
Bobby really looks like a anyway.
All right, so I am counting number 10. I am. Who will get this? The clue is in the picture.
Let's see if you know your country.
I will admit, until I also Googled, because I know people. Are you Googling? Who is the fastest Googler? Jane, Samburu? No, close. Yeah, hey, Nyaboke. Nyaboke has gotten it. It's Marsabit.
Yes, but thank you, Jen, for trying. I can see Celia also got it right.
Like, Nyaboke, what device are you on that is quick like this?
Yeah.
General knowledge.
All right, so I am the tallest building in Kenya. What is my name? Time Tower? No, Jane, it's not Time Tower. Times Tower, no.
No. Someone almost got it right.
UAP? No. Jane, Coca-Cola. Hey, Jane, Coca-Cola is a big building like this. No, it's not Coca-Cola.
Bobby, you're close. You are
close. Javelin has won this round. Britain Tower. Bobby was so close. Britannia reminds me of the cookies. Britannia biscuits, but great try. Javelin has taken this round.
Yeah.
We are on the final one. My name is, who is this? Do you know who this is? Who will be the first to answer? Jane got it. Ojwang. Mzee Ojwang.
You got it right. Yeah. Samina also.
Great.
Yeah. Mhm.
All right. So our winner is Nyaboke. Nyaboke won the first 3 and it is out of 5. So the winner is Nyaboke. Congratulations, Nyaboke. General knowledge skills.
Thank you, everyone.
Great.
You're
Thank you so
welcome.
much, everyone.
Good job.
All right. So we can now jump in. We are adequately warmed up. And you can now see who is this person who is talking to you. So I'm Rhoda Kingori. I'm co-founder of Zydii, and I'm so excited to moderate this session and just share this information and help you pull all those good things from your superstar employees and get it transferred to the rest of your team. I will try to share as much knowledge as I possibly can. So who are we? So for some of you, you've been on our webinars before, so you know who we are. We've talked, there's the diehards, we're here for you. And there's some of you who are new. So Zydii is the workforce upskilling solution for Africa. So basically we partner with organizations, with businesses to train their teams, their partners, using our digital training content, our digital training videos, lessons, courses on our platform, either online or offline using SMS and USSD. So even if you have 1 employee, if you have 500 employees, you're able to train them with the key skills that they require. And this is soft skills, essential skills, because 80% of employees at entry level fail because of lack of soft skills. Sometimes it's not even the technical skills. So that's what we do as Zydii, and we enjoy sharing knowledge. We enjoy creating accessibility, and that's who we are in a nutshell. And we enjoy doing these webinars and sharing the knowledge based on experiences that we've had for over 5 years of doing what we do. So with that, I am going to jump into launching a poll. So get your fingers ready, everyone. I would love to know. I have launched a poll, and the question is, hopefully it's on the screen. Yes, it is. When your team wants to learn a new skill, where do they turn to first? Let's see. Where do you think they turn to first? Do they Google? Do they YouTube? Do they go to the training programs that you have? Do they ask other team members? Where does it fall? All right, let's see. It's coming in. Very interesting. I cannot wait to share the results. Let's see. So we've gotten 6 out of 7. Great. I think we're good so far. All right, so let's end the poll and share the results. So very, very interesting. So 50%, which is the majority considering the rest, said that they go to Google first. YouTube didn't even get one. So no one thinks they go to YouTube to find solutions. The next was other team members, followed by the organization's training program. So thank you so much for participating in the poll. So you'd be very, very interested to learn that it's not Google that they go to first. And this will be part of our conversation as we're moving ahead. So the power of peer-to-peer. So this is very interesting statistics. So workers first turn to their peers. This is 55%. So before they even go to Google, before they ask their bosses, before the training or the digital learning or whatever it is, they first turn to their peers, which really helps realize the power that you are sitting with as an organization if you leverage peer-to-peer, and the gap that you definitely have if you've not even thought about leveraging it, which is why we're having this conversation. So 55% turn to their peers first, second only to asking their bosses. So this statistics really just helps paint the picture of why we're even having this conversation today. All right, so the next section is to understand peer-to-peer. I think it's really great to also understand, how do people learn generally, right? How do they learn, and why are we talking about peer-to-peer? Why is it so powerful? Other than them going to ask the questions, why is this so essential? So there's 4 stages to people learning, and this is called the learning loop. And you can Google this. So first, the person, the employee, you as a person, you gain the knowledge, right? You've read a book, you've watched a video, you've had a conversation with someone, they've shown you how to do something. The next level is you practice by applying that knowledge in real life, right? So it's not just knowledge that's sitting in your head. Now you're actually applying that knowledge. So after you've applied that knowledge, you get feedback, right? So it's either you get feedback, from your peers, somebody notices that you're doing something different, your mentor, a random person who you're having conversations with mentions something about it, or even the person who you learned from gives you feedback. And after you have received that feedback, you then reflect on what you have learned, right? Did it work? Did it not work? What do I need to change? And that leads you to, once again, the cycle of, okay, if it's not worked, what do I need to learn? If it has worked, I really want to learn more. And that's how people learn. That is the learning loop. So why am I talking about the learning loop? The key power behind this is because peer-to-peer learning encompasses all of these key elements, right? So they come to somebody on their team, ask them a question, they're shown how to do something, or somebody is just having a conversation about something that they learned. Then they pick that information, they actually apply it day to day. They're able to get feedback and they're able to reflect and then go ahead and continue the circle. So the power of peer-to-peer is it encompasses all of these key elements, which is why it is so powerful. So now, where do you start? How do you go about beginning this journey of actually getting peer-to-peer learning and training to be a part of your organization? So we're going to go through that, and I'll pause at some point to answer questions that you can have. So if you have questions, don't just sit on them, type them in the chat. You can raise your hand when you get to the Q&A section, but type them all in the chat so that we can answer the questions and you don't forget it before we move on to the next bit, right? So we can then go ahead and move on. Where do you start? Step one is identify, right? So some of you here, you already know there are those superstars in your team, yeah? The ones who people are going to ask questions. So step one is identify. And it's not just the loudest person who is the most influential, who has the most knowledge and the most skills, and who people actually go to get knowledge from. And so your superstar is not just the loudest. You might have somebody who quietly does what they do and they do it so well, right? Either it's their attitude, their personality, the technical skills, the soft skills, but there's something that really makes them stand out, and it's not just necessarily being the loudest. So the key to identifying is actually being intentional about pausing and watching, observing your team. How does your team engage with each other, right? Who is the person who at any given time, you'll see like more than one person going to ask a question. They're constantly referring to that person. That is your superstar. That's the person that people have identified as having expertise and skills to solve problems that they have not figured out how to solve yet. So step one is identify, and key thing to note is they're not just the loudest in the group. They're also those who are quietly efficient and effective at what they do. So once you've identified them, right, you know who these people are. What is the next step? Right? How do you begin? How do you begin these conversations? The next stage is what we call empower and encourage, right? So again, just highlighting that not all superstars are extroverts, which means not all of them can decide, I'm going to stand in front of people and teach them, not all of them have confidence or are even aware that this is happening, They might just be doing their job and answering questions and moving on, or just sharing bits of information without noticing the impact that they're having on the ground. So first step is recognize and praise their expertise. If it's somebody on the team, pull them aside and tell them that I've really seen that you're really good at this. I don't know if you've noticed, your work is excellent. And I love the fact that you are actually helping your team members and sharing knowledge. Recognize them and praise their expertise. All human beings they all get the feelings when they are recognized. They all get the feeling, I want to do more, or I had no idea. I'm very interested in approaching this. So everybody loves to be recognized. It's a really great feeling for all human beings. The next is, don't assume that just because they're doing what they're doing unconsciously, or maybe they're not doing it at all. Maybe they're just good at what they do. Don't assume that they would be willing to now automatically stand in front of people, start teaching people what they know and what have you. Have a conversation with them after praising them and recognizing them, and ask them, would they want to get the opportunity to share? Would they want to get the opportunity to have conversations? And we move on to how they're able to do that in the next level. But this is really, really critical. Don't just pick somebody and tell them you'll be doing this from now on, because you really have to follow human psychology. They need to understand that what they're doing is special. And that special element is why you've recognized them, and you would love them to empower the rest of their team and the power that they'll have around that. Which now comes to the part where we talk about if they're struggling, if maybe they're very introverted, they don't have the confidence. This is where that element of mentoring comes in. And if you cannot do it, maybe there's somebody else, maybe in management or leadership, somebody who they'll respond to, who can mentor them. If not, get them training. The world has endless possibilities. The online world, you can search, you can find training of trainers courses, get them trainings on different levels. You can have a training of trainers course on Zydii as well. So the thing is, empower them, get them the skills so that they are able to begin the process of sharing that knowledge if it does not come naturally to them. This is very, very important. So you've empowered them, you've recognized, you know who it is, you've identified them, you've had the conversation. They're feeling like maybe they can try, maybe they want to try. Maybe they've taken a quick course on public speaking, maybe they've learned on how to teach others. There's a book they've read, maybe they're feeling more comfortable, or maybe now that they know they're ready to start running with it. What is the next step? The next is creating a structure. Everything in life falls apart if there's no structure, right? So they're raring to go, do you just let them loose? where they just go and start doing whatever it is that they want to do? This is very, very dangerous because, now they feel like they're very, very empowered. What are they going to do with it? And what structure will be around it? Will they be overwhelmed when now everybody's coming to ask them questions? They're constantly doing sessions. Does it become a part of their JD? Yet they are experts in a specific area and they need to focus on their work. Keep that in mind. This is why structure is important. So what key elements would you think about when you're thinking about how do I create a structure around peer-to-peer training? So Sandra, you can mute. You can help me mute. I can hear some background music, not music, sounds. I think it's Kelvin. Thank you so much. All right, so you can decide maybe you want to start small. Maybe they have a 10-minute one-on-one session with a peer who is struggling in their particular area of expertise. One-on-ones. Do you want it to be one-on-one sessions? And structure that one-on-one session. Is it once a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month? What does this look like? And what works for the person who is going to be now basically doing the peer-to-peer training? Person or persons. There can be more than one person. How would this work for them? The next is you can create cohorts. So maybe there's a very specific struggle that you've seen they're very excellent with. Create a cohort. A cohort basically means that you're bringing people together over a period of time. Maybe it's a month, 2 months, 3 months, and they are learning on this specific topic from this particular peer-to-peer. We'll call them peer-to-peer instructors now, right? So you structure a program and the peer-to-peer works with you on this, where they say, this is what I think I do. So topic 1 can be this. I can do this month, this the next month, this the third month, and people can learn. And after that, you know what? They're done with that specific thing unless it rises up again and you can have another cohort. Or you can decide it's a weekly session, where the individuals share their knowledge that they've gained, and there's plenty of time for discussion. Maybe now it's a team meeting where the knowledge is being shared and people are answering questions. they're answering, asking questions, having conversations, discussions. So it all depends on what works for your organization, because each organization is very different. What works for the individuals as well, based on their strengths and also their role. You can't have somebody who is having one-to-one sessions constantly if they're incredibly busy. So figure out what works in terms of structure, but it's essential that you actually pause, do research, what works for organizations that are like you, what has been successful in the industry, case studies, what works. The next that is very, very important, and it's part of structure as well, is you need to have that person who is heading this peer-to-peer training program or chapter in your organization. Yeah. So it's important to have a neutral party. So if you're the team manager, you're managing everyone. I don't know if they'd be the one who would be in charge of this, right? To keep it on track, because peer-to-peer really is, you're having conversations and you're learning from people at the same level or even a bit higher, but they're not like direct reports, which means there's no pressure, and the boundaries are not as solidified. It's easier to also just be comfortable with the sharing of knowledge. So pick a person who is neutral in the organization, who can then be part of this process, who will head this process, and make sure, structures that are being done, the actual peer-to-peer learning is happening, what the experience is like, getting feedback, So have somebody who is going to take this particular role. The next that is very, very important, because peer-to-peer is about communication, right? Is build a safe environment. Very, very important. So building a safe environment means you set ground rules. How are people going to be engaging, right? How will they be giving feedback? And there's something that's very interesting that you learn, that if feedback is, you give feedback and it's feedback and gratitude. Roll those together, and that actually helps. Sessions of feedback go very, very easily, smoothly. Think of that, putting those two together, set the ground rules. And also a key element is definitely emphasize, and also build the culture around when people share, they should not be mocked or embarrassed for expressing themselves in front of their peers. So again, I always say, do the research, Also, what is the culture of your organization? Maybe some things need to change. Or it's already okay as it is. But very important is set ground rules so that people are consciously aware of how it is that they're giving feedback, but also being very comfortable around the fact that they can share and they won't be mocked. This is essential for any peer-to-peer session, whether it's a cohort, whether it's one-on-one, whether it's weekly sessions, because it also gives your team confidence to speak up. And you learn quite a lot from them, and they learn from each other when this happens. So this is very, very important. One of the final elements that I'll talk about before I take a quick break for the questions, please be typing them in the chat. I know it's in a lot of information for 1 hour, so I'm trying to do as much as I possibly can, but please type your questions in the chat. The next is on leveraging technology. Actually, because I've looked at the time and we still have some good time. Before I move to leveraging technology, I think maybe you can type in the chat, this is for everyone, is have you identified, do you have superstars in your team already? Have you identified them, or is this a process that you're going to start beginning? So go ahead and type this in the chat, and then we can move on to the next point, which is the leveraging technology. I realized that this is going to become a very long lecture. So go ahead and type in the chat.
Are you sure?
I can hear Caroline. If you could mute. Sandra, if you can mute for me, that would be great. Thank you.
You want us to take a walk?
Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness. Mute. Great, thank you. Okay. So I can see Bobby says yes. Okay, so you've identified them. Serious rules, ground rules. Yes, ground rules, very essential. Sonia Boke, starting the process. Tobias. Yes, it's a new ideology, and we're yet to identify from ourselves and embrace the same among ourselves. Fantastic. This is why we're here. Everybody's at a different level. Maybe it's something you had never heard of before that is so incredibly powerful. We also use this at Zydii quite a bit. I learned so much from my team, and we also make it a very conscious element of how we engage with each other. So thank you for sharing, Tobias. I don't know if I've missed anything at the top. Right, Syria says setting ground rules and understanding the unwritten ground rules is also a key factor in implementing peer-to-peer training. Thank you, Syria. Yes, it's very, very essential. So there's written rules and there's unwritten rules, and we all know those unwritten social norm rules. So being very, very aware is very essential. Great. All right. So we can move on to the next part, which is we have the foundation, right? You identify them, you empower them and encourage them. You set up the structures, right? And the essential elements around the structures is having the key person who is heading this whole project, right? And creating the safe environment for this to actually happen. The next is leveraging technology. Now, this is what we live for at Zydii, because we are in the age of technology. It's unavoidable, and we'll never negate the physical face-to-face element, but there is power in using technology to accelerate this, make it more accessible. For example, you can have maybe a team that's spread across the counties, across the country, across, the continent, across continents as well. But there's still that one superstar in one specific area code who just gets things done. They have an amazing attitude, there's something about them that really drives their excellence. So how do you take that knowledge, create peer-to-peer learning, yet you have a team that's spread across different regions, different area codes? Would they miss out now on the peer-to-peer element? This is how leveraging technology becomes really, really important. Also thinking about this superstar team member might not always be in your organization. So how do you make sure that this excellence, this knowledge is actually passed on across your team and can keep being shared even when they're no longer part of the organization? This is where leveraging technology comes in. So how do you do this? So you work closely with your superstar employees, create a digital version of what they are teaching. So we call this creating a digital course, and you're leveraging your internal knowledge where you sit down with them, It can even be as basic as they create a presentation on this is what helps them become who they are, right? This is what they do. This is how to solve some of these problems. Create a presentation, a document, even do an audio, where they're recording their stories of how they're doing things, how they're learning, video as well. Record them, sit down, let them have a conversation, let them share what drives them, how to do some specific things that maybe no one else can do. Because, you can have general information, but qua ground things are different. How is it qua ground and what is the experience like? When you're able to capture this knowledge is now sitting with the organization. So it can be shared across board. It can be shared across regions, and it can be used for a period of time. Things change, but still there's key foundational elements that can be used over and over and over again. This is the power of leveraging technology. So create this content, capture this content digitally, right? This knowledge, capture it digitally. And at Zydii, we do this for many organizations. I'll go through a few case studies, and then now we'll open it up for the Q&A session. But this is something that you can definitely do at the most basic level, at the level of creating the course that's actually sitting. If you have an LMS, if you have a platform that this can be channeled through, so that you can train continuously. Somebody new comes into the organization to that role or a different role that needs that knowledge, they're able to still continue learning across board and getting feedback, from their team, from the mentors, because there's always a change you can see in people's work when they learn, when they grow, which is why training is the most critical part of a business, because it can actually increase your profit margins by 218% per employee. This is research from Deloitte. So it's not just pulling numbers from the sky. So leveraging technology, let me just give a few examples of what we've done as Zydii and why this is so powerful, and we apply it not only internally, but even as we're working with other organizations as they're thinking about, leveraging that knowledge within the organization to train their team. So one is Uber. I think Uber was one of the first and the most interesting experience for peer-to-peer training. So this is where we worked with Uber, and instead of somebody from Uber talking about, how to treat your customers, how to improve your rating, this would not really resonate with drivers on the ground because the experience on the ground is usually very different from the theory. So what we did is they identified their superstar drivers, the ones with 4.8 up to 5 out of 5 ratings, and we brought them together and recorded. So coaching them through understanding, what do you do on a day-to-day? Why do you think you have the highest rating? What are the tips that you experience? And it was interesting and hilarious at the same time. There are things that are not written anywhere, where they were really sharing experiences of maybe where they go to buy lunch in Nairobi, for example, to save their money, the car wash process, how to keep their cars clean, identifying the different types of riders based on experience, small tips of how to talk or experiences that they've had. And the response was amazing. Over 5,000 drivers were taking these courses, these trainings digitally. And one of the key things that they kept saying is, I can actually do this, I understand because this is how it is on the ground. I can actually apply the skills I'm learning, and it's incredibly relatable. And there's a huge change in how Uber drivers actually engage with each other. So we don't claim all the success, but we were part of the process, right? So drivers teaching drivers, you can never take away that element of relatability, of people understanding that what I'm going through because we're in the same environment. You understand what I'm experiencing. Thus, I trust your experience. Very, very important. So this was wonderful, and it became a key core part of how we do things at Zydii, how we help organizations convert their training, what we encourage them to do within the team. Expert trainers from outside are excellent. We're not taking away from that. It's a key part of training, but a key part that you should always keep in mind, especially for your own internal training that is very core and very unique to you. See if there are peer-to-peer trainers that are hidden, hidden gems within your organization. The next was Crown Paints Kenya. So now let me tell you the Crown Paints story and case study. So Crown Paints has experts, and a few of them, about 2 of them, who have been in the organization for over 25 years. If there's a product that has been created, they know it end to end, all the way through. And they've been here for 25 years. So you can imagine the amount of knowledge and expertise sitting with these individuals. So what would happen is these individuals would be the ones who are traveling not just across the country, but across regions to train other team members who have now come on board about the different Crown products, taking them through 3-day trainings. So at some point, this is a manager. He's at managerial level, but he has so much expertise. He's the one who's traveling across board to train people. So he's doing that, plus trying to do his work and the quality assurance and the clash. You can just see the clash because you're really torn in different, each is really critical and essential, but you're torn in different directions. So what we did with Crown Paints is we worked with the team and converted the knowledge on product training into about 6 digital training courses on the different products that Crown has, right? The history of Crown, where have they come from? And the products, how does paint work? All these key essential information was all now recorded. So now they have this content, and this can roll out across country, across regions. And it's a really great example of this is somebody sitting with so much knowledge, and he understands because he's been in this industry for 25 years. He works with the painters, with the teams on the ground. Very relatable. People are constantly coming to him, and he's going out to train, but this will help them now cut that down so that maybe he doesn't have to go every week, every 2 weeks, constantly traveling. maybe once a month, for a physical session. But at the moment you have maybe 300, 500, 400 employees who would be able to learn this knowledge that was sitting in 1-2 people's heads. So that's why we say peer-to-peer is really, really important, very essential. And the element of leveraging technology. So you can start small and build up and see how you can leverage technology so that this becomes a core part of your organization. And I think the impact would be really spectacular. So that's it from my end. My lecture is over. I have paused now for questions. We can check the chat. You can raise your hand as well for comments. So I can check the chat and see, but you can also raise your hands if you have any questions, any comments, and we can go ahead and unmute you and you can give your comment. So I can see, all right, so Tobias says, maybe what are the criteria to identify this, to implement the peer-to-peer conversation as to grow to be a sustainable element? I think I'd covered that when we're talking about now leveraging it, but Tobias, maybe you can unmute and ask again so that we can understand your question clearly, and then somebody else can ask the question after. If you're still there, are you still there? Or are you in another meeting?
I think he dropped off.
He dropped off. Okay, all right. Yeah. But I mean, I can still try and just answer it based on what I've understood. So the criteria to identify, so we've had a conversation about this, to implement the peer-to-peer conversation as to grow to be sustainable. All right, so that's the element of setting up the structures. And I always say, start. You can really get stuck on overthinking starting and trying to set up everything in place. So the growing is in the learning, and the learning is in the doing. So what you do is set up the basic structure, identify them, have the conversation with the peer-to-peer instructor. You can even just start with one. What do they want to teach? How do they want to do it? If they don't have the skill, how do you empower them? And then roll it out. Maybe it can be a one-on-one session with one person. Try it out. And that's how you keep growing, because sustainability is really dependent on, there's no one size fits all. It depends on your organization. So start small, experiment, learn as you go through, and you'll figure out what works. Do research as well. There's nothing new written under the sun. So do research. How does this work for others? And figure out what is sustainability for your organization, and how would this look for your organization? So I can see Margaret. Thank you for commenting, Margaret. So Margaret says, I love the peer-to-peer strategy and leveraging technology for longevity of information. Yes, it's so powerful. If organizations can do this, I feel like there'd be such a drastic change. And we're so excited to be a catalyst for this change. So thank you,
Rhoda, if I may, just a comment, because this is something that was tried in our organization, and in this instance, I was the employee, and my manager identified me to train our teams on sales strategies, as well as coach and mentor new employees as they were coming in. But it fell flat because of not having that structure, because I became overwhelmed and my sales suffered in the process. But I think now moving forward, this is a strategy that I can, put forward for that retention of, what you just said. It's good I came into the session.
Great. Thank you so much, Margaret. And thank you for sharing your story. That's what happens, right? When there's no structure, you can only do so many things as a human being. But thank you so much for sharing. Right. All right. So questions I can see here. So Evelyn asks, what if the superstar employee does not know how best to share their expertise, say for reasons that he or she is I think you meant introvert. Yes, introvert. Exactly. So this is where that mentoring and coaching and actually upskilling them comes in. right? So maybe they don't have the confidence, they don't like speaking in front of people. Now, these are the ones who you're not putting in front of a whole classroom to teach people. These would be comfortable in smaller groups, cohorts. They would be more comfortable maybe sharing all of their knowledge, and then it's packed digitally and people can embrace it, but then they're not in front of people constantly. So it's finding the balance, right? So mentoring them, coaching them so that they have the confidence, getting them a course, on public speaking so that they gain the confidence to actually share. But if they're still not comfortable with that, you also find the balance in how you structure the program. If this person is honestly very introverted, there's no way you can ever get them to have sessions with many people. Small intimate groups, one-on-one sessions, record them, because now they're sharing, they're not in front of people, they'll share everything they have to share, and you can then roll that across the organization. That would be my answer to that. But again, I always say, do the research. What would work? But that would be what I would say would work as a starting point. Bobby, how do you get shy people to do a video? Bobby, it's skills. It's coaching. So we've been doing this for a while, and we've learned what makes introverts comfortable, extroverts comfortable, how to get the introverts to get more excited and share. Maybe it's not having a whole team behind the camera. It's one person, where you sit down and you're legitimately just having a conversation and they slowly open up. So this is a skill set that we have, and we definitely apply when we're helping organizations convert that internal knowledge into digital. So yes, this is expertise that comes into play. Thanks, Bobby. All right. Oh, Syria. So Syria says you can also give them titles such as champions or Team X just to energize them and remember to reward them. Excellent point. Thank you so much, Syria. Maybe you can unmute if you're not in a noisy area and just share a little bit more on this.
Hi, Rhoda.
Hi, Syria.
Thank you so much. What I mean is when you are setting up or giving structure to peer-to-peer training, it is something that they're doing out of their normal work duties, and you have recognized that they have a skill. So for you to keep them energized to be that peer-to-peer trainer, to be that superstar who is delivering or passing on information to the other team members, we can't forget, number one, to reward them because they're sharing what they know. They've been picked, they've been identified as that superstar. And then creating a team gives them the feeling of, I'm part of something else aside from what I do. So if someone, for example, is a superstar at doing that training and knows their skills so well, giving them that title, makes them feel, hey, I'm such and such a champion, or hey, I'm in team, whatever you decide to call it for your organization, gives them the impetus to keep doing this, gives them that recognition that while I was in company X, I was a team X member who did peer-to-peer training. So it's purely for motivation, for energizing them, for them to know, we have focus groups where we discuss how we're going to do this peer-to-peer training, or say you decide as Zydii to come in and train 10 of them. Then they know Team X or such and such champions, we're having a video shoot. It gives them a sense of belonging to something that they're doing for the organization or for their peers. Back to you, Rhoda.
Great. Thank you so much, Syria. That's an excellent point. Thank you for bringing it. Woo! Thank you, because its reward systems are so essential. And it's not just giving them something. I love what Syria has said in terms of, the title, because it's that sense of pride and belonging that I'm doing something that's big. I'm making a contribution. I even have a title. So thank you so much for that. Very, very essential, because they're doing it out of, it's not like they're being paid extra. Or if you do, put it in the structure, But this monetary can only go so far. It is those soft key elements, of pride in their work, pride in what they're doing, excitement that actually drives them to do what they're doing and continue doing it. Thank you so much, Syria. So Kevin says, this is something that I have planned to introduce, not just to my team, but been discussing about this with other heads of other departments. Fantastic, Kevin. Good stuff. Margaret says rewarding is so important. Mm-hmm. All right, Bobby, no problem. I will share. Oh, Joyce had raised her hand. Joyce, unblock yourself, or rather unmute yourself. Yeah, I had not seen the hand.
It's fine. And I know how it is not to interrupt someone's flow when they're teaching. So I was respectfully waiting. Good morning, everyone. I never had a chance to intro myself at the beginning, but my very able co-founder and partner in crime, Rhoda, has been doing a fantastic job with this webinar. My name is Joyce Mbaya. I'm the founder and CEO of Zydii. Love the engagement. In fact, it just shows me that this is a topic that we probably should delve into a lot more. There's a clear need, and I'm very glad that you've all gained, value from the session. So I was looking at the questions around, introverts who are shy in front of the camera and how to get, people who are not necessarily extroverted to share. So one of the things I wanted to add to what Rhoda said is also to emphasize that when it comes to sort of, let's say, technology, right? And the way you capture sort of the peer-to-peer learning, video is actually just one format. So with some of our clients, we've actually seen situations where you didn't have to get somebody in front of a camera. Like at Zydii, we actually have learned that you can leverage different ways. For example, you might have this knowledge in the form of a document, or maybe this person can put together a presentation. You work with them to sort of put the knowledge in a training format. Could be a document, so that's a bit of instructional design. You're sitting with this person to essentially capture their expertise in a formalized way using the expertise of a trainer who works with them, or an instructional designer. And then, you work with them to convert that into video. And we've done a lot of videos at Zydii, which are not necessarily in the style where you teach in front of a camera. Rather, we use interactive video, graphics, some nice magic. And in fact, some of those are usually a lot more interesting. So it's not a must actually that you also use a format where the employee is speaking in front of a camera. Honestly, I agree, it's not for everybody, and you don't want to force issues. There's some things that sort of, if it's not working or if it's not ideal for the person, my point was to say the beauty is there's different ways to do it, right? So even capturing knowledge at the level where you've captured a document, a presentation, we are looking at how we can structure that expertise in a format that it can be consumed as a training. All this adds value, and then at the point where you want to do the video, you figure out different ways to sort of capture it. Not necessarily that the person has to be in front of a camera. Yes, that's what I wanted to add, Rhoda, just to emphasize that aspect.
Great. Thanks, Joyce. Thank you so much for adding it on. That one would have pitted me over the head. But yeah, there's more, I always say, more than one way to skin a cat. So yes, they don't necessarily have to just be on camera. Maybe I realized also the technical ones, they're very comfortable with putting the information together and then now hand it over and we convert it into now that knowledge that is essential for the whole team. Great. Thanks, Joyce. Thank you so much, Margaret. We will have more content on this. We'll have more webinars on this. Bobby, Sandra has shared my email address. Sandra, you can also share my number there as well. That's the official Zydii line. You can reach out. We can definitely have a conversation after this. So there's 6 minutes remaining. You have bought yourself 6 minutes of time. So we're going to end the webinar there unless there's any more questions. You have 6 extra minutes for your day. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. I've really enjoyed this, and we'll also share the recorded version of this as soon as we are done. So by the end of the week, you should be able to get the video version of this recording.
This week's episode has come to an end, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback, head over right now to Twitter and Facebook and like and share, comment, get involved. Let us know what you think, what you want to learn next, and join us next time.